to The Writer's Dream. The Writer's Dream is a show devoted to authors who want to talk about their books, how they write them, how they publish them, and how they market them. We are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. The Facebook page is called The Writer's Dream. If you like us, please like us, because we could really appreciate it. Today, we have a special program because we're closing on about 3 years now into The Writer's Dream, and we'd like to talk about our adventures. First, on how we got the program going, the past, and also the future. Today's co-host today, because we're co-hosting, is Karen Bonnet. I'm Linda Frank. Linda Maria Frank is my pen name, and I am the writer of Annie Tillery Mysteries. And Karen Bonnet is the author of
Well, Island of the Mysterious Bones.
and she is also an integral part of the production team here. We have worked from the get-go on this show to get it on the road, to keep it going, to get authors, and it's been quite an adventure, hasn't it, Karen?
It's been an adventure, yes, an experience. It's been fun, actually. It's been about 90 authors we've interviewed so far, and we learned so many different new stories and about their experiences with their writing and publishing and marketing of their books. And it's a great platform for them because it's good for their marketing as well. What do they take away from it?
The show itself is a platform for marketing.
Right.
And marketing, as any author knows, is the most really difficult part of the whole experience of trying to get a book out to the public. So what happens here is LTV produces, this show is not live, it's taped, but it's also aired here, and you get a DVD.
Right.
The authors are able to purchase the DVD, and then they can take that and
put it on
I put it on YouTube. I purchased the DVD, I put it on YouTube.
Right.
So you end up on YouTube. There are really, if you go on YouTube and you
plug in The Writer's Dream.
Yes, you search The Writer's Dream, all of the interviews come up, and it's quite interesting.
Right.
Then they can take the DVD, actually they can lift the code from YouTube and put it on their website, on their Facebook page,
and
market it.
The whole interview comes right up.
I mean, I do a lot of websites to market my my books, and I do the author's show.
The author's show is a great platform also.
I do Goodreads and Amazon, and on all of these, there's an author page.
Right.
Author show is, the author's den is the one that I do. I do the author show as well.
Right.
On any one of these websites, you're enabled to put an MP3 or a DVD on any kind of a video. And even in my press releases, I can put videos.
You can even post an event or an article and let people know what you're doing for the future on those websites.
But once this goes on YouTube, the possibilities, because you can lift that code and bring it anywhere, are endless. So it becomes a wonderful marketing experience for the authors.
Yeah.
So Karen, we talk about writing, we talk about publishing, we talk about marketing. We did it a little backwards. Why don't you talk about your book and how you wrote your book and why and your background?
Well, I didn't bring my book with me today, but anyway, my book is a book for children in elementary school. It's for age 8 to 11. I wrote the book probably 13 years ago. I always wanted to write a children's book. I was involved in writing in journalism at first, years ago, and I wrote for newspapers and trade papers and all of that. It's very different than writing a creative book. And I always I read now, as I did when I was a child, one book after the other. I was an avid reader then, I'm still an avid reader. And I remember when I was a kid reading all of the classics and some of the books that were my favorites. And whenever I put a book down that I liked so much, I never wanted it to end. And I always felt sad when it was over. And I wanted to give children that same feeling. I wanted them to have the same feeling I did when you read a book you love. And so I decided I had all these ideas in my head from my experiences, from reading the books that I loved and, people in your life. And I decided I was going to put this book together, and I did. And it's a great adventure story. It's a page turner. Kids and adults love it, and you can find it on Amazon.
Well, before you get into explaining what's in the book, because it is a wonderful story, would you say that, because my background's so different, would you say that this background in journalism was a big help to you in writing a book?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I always liked to write. I was always good in that, even as a kid. But I think that, when you're a writer, you have to hone your craft, and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I had to hone my craft and edit myself. I was an editor as well for the newspapers, and I had to hone my craft then. And so I think that taught me a lot and helped me in my writing for my book. Of course, I edited it hundreds of times.
Yeah. Well, I have other people, well, I try to edit my own book, but it's a
Yeah.
disaster.
It's-
Because my background is so different.
Tell me about how did you get
Well,
involved with your first book, which I love, by the way.
Thanks.
I read it in an airplane in 6 hours.
That's what I call them, airplane
It
books.
was very good. The Madonna
The
Coast.
plane takes off, you read the book, and by the time you land, you're almost finished. My background's so different. I did like to read when I was a kid. I loved Nancy Drew, but
me
I was
too.
more a tomboy. And I did not go into any kind of writing. I went into science. I taught science for years. And if you asked me to write when I was a kid, I would rather eat worms than write. I really did not like to write. I just didn't feel that I had anything to say. But being a teacher, you really end up, if you do anything creative, you end up writing a lot. And so eventually, I taught forensic science, and the funniest thing was that I needed to make it interesting. Of course, I always think everything in science is interesting. The students, not so much. So you have to make it interesting for them. So what I did was I wrote case studies, and the case studies had to do with the different kinds of evidence that I was teaching them about.
Sounds so interesting.
And I got to really like some of the cases,
Yeah.
and then I put characters in them. Once you put characters in, you're sunk. So
Right,
I
right.
thought to myself, I could really do this. So in order to write a book, I took a course because I had no idea.
What was the name of the course?
I took it with children's. The Children's Writing Institute in
Okay.
Connecticut. Institute for Children's Writing is what it was. And at that time, they didn't have computer courses.
Right.
Now they do.
Right.
And every time I write a book, I take a course. And I plan
Is it
on...
online or you take an
Now it
online
is.
class?
Now
Yeah.
you can do it online. And it really helped me because it was the structure of the book. It was even the grammar. I mean, I considered myself pretty good with grammar and spelling and whatnot. But when you write a book, there's always a style manual.
Yes.
In fact, I had someone edit my book, and she's a magazine editor, and she used their style manual, and I had to change everything back because we use a different style
Right.
manual. So the writing, the technical part of the writing was something I really had to learn,
Right.
and I'm still not very confident with it. I really like to have, an editor, somebody like you, look at it
Right.
and tell me about it. So tell us about Whale Island and the Mysterious Bones.
Well, it's a fun book. It starts off in Cape Cod. That's where my main characters are brother and sister. They're 10 and 11 years old, Will and Katie, and they're in Cape Cod, and their uncle is the retired Navy captain who takes them on an adventure on the last day of school on his new boat, and they go on the boat, and they're at this little island where they're going to go fishing, and then there's a storm that brews overhead, and he knows he's got to take them back on the boat and bring them home before the storm gets worse. But as they're fighting against the waves, these big churning waters and all that, the boat, even though he's a skilled Navy person, the boat capsizes in the water, and in the next scene, the children, it's nighttime, they're on a shore of an island. It's not Whale Island, but it's an island. They don't know where they are. They don't know where their uncle is. They're very sad. They upset, and they want to get home. They want to find their way home. So they try to make their way to a town, but they're so exhausted, they find an abandoned cabin along the way, and they sleep in it. And they wake up in the morning, and they make their way to town and bump into a big man who tells them, oh, the storm knocked the phone lines down. He says, they told him what they want to do, and he said, you could use my captain's cell phone. It works on that ship over there, which is a very ominous-looking ship. And against their better judgment, they go on the ship, and they meet the captain, who is this stony-faced, unfriendly-looking man who turns out to be the villain in the story. And
Captain
Sharkley. Captain Sharkley. And they go on the boat, and he just looks at them, and and the first mate tells them what they want to do, and he just says, it's downstairs, go ahead. And the next thing they know, the ship is moving out of the harbor. So they're taken on this adventure to Whale Island, because the captain knows about these mysterious whale bones that are on Whale Island. He has a map. No one who's ever gone to Whale Island has ever come back. So they plot to steal the map, because he still hunts whales, and he's a very bad man. And they befriend the captain's nephew, Bartholomew, and they plot on how to escape the ship, and they finally, after a few weeks, they do escape with the captain's crew member, one of the crew members, and Bartholomew, his nephew, and they make their way to Whale Island, which is where all these beautiful, gorgeous, it's Indonesian islands. There's a lot of gorgeous landscape, mountains and beautiful scenery,
Jungle.
and lots of animals, all kinds of animals that they meet up with, including Komodo dragons and a whale named Nalene. They do find these whale bones that nobody's ever found, and
Don't tell us.
I can't tell you what happens when they find the whale bones. There's a lot that happens. They also discover an undersea lost world, and I can't tell you all of that either. It's just
No, you have to read the book.
yeah, you have to read the book. It's a
You have to read the
page turner.
book.
Yeah.
Very imaginative. And
Yeah.
one question,
Yeah.
why did you decide to write a children's story?
Oh, because I wanted children to experience what I did. Also, when I wrote this book, I didn't know I was going to have a granddaughter at the time. She was when she was born. The book was 2 years old already, actually. So I wanted to get this book out there before she turned too old too old to read it. So I decided to go ahead and, even though I tried to get it published traditionally, I went to 8 publishers, and you get the traditional rejection letters. I decided to self-publish it because of my granddaughter, whose name is Katie, which is the same name as the main character in my book. But besides that, I wanted to give children that same wonderful feeling that I had when I read books and I loved.
Well,
How about you?
My feeling about
Tell us about your book.
I started out thinking in terms of young adult, but I have found out that young adults really are reading much more adult-like books. So I am finding out now that my books are really for pretty good third-grade readers all the way
Yes.
up into maybe ninth grade.
Right.
Mine is a mystery series. I like to call it Nancy Drew meets CSI.
Which is a great slogan.
Because of my background with forensic science. And there is quite a bit of forensic science in each of the books. The first one is a ghost story that takes place on Fire Island. And the ghost, my main character, Annie Tillery, goes to Fire Island with her aunt on vacation. She meets a boy, falls in love. We have a nice little romance going there. There's a lot of sailing, a lot of beach. But
Very
he tells
nautical,
her
right?
about a ghost, and she wants to investigate the ghost. They do, but what they find out is that the ghost is hiding a very, very dastardly plot that impacts on national security. And that's all I can tell
Yeah.
you. Girl with Pencil
I loved it.
Drawing takes place in Brooklyn and Manhattan. Annie takes a series of art lessons. Her art instructor is accused of murdering the director of the gallery, who has been trying to coerce her into forging some art pieces, which she refuses to do. And Annie and her Aunt Jill, who she lives with, is a New York City police detective. They try to clear the art instructor, whose name is Francesca, they try to clear her name. And so in the midst of all of this, they discover a whole ring of art forgers and art thieves. And the backstory is very similar to Monuments Men. The backstory is actually about how the Nazis confiscated art
Right.
during the World War II.
Right.
The latest one, which just came out, Secrets in the Fairy
Can't wait
Chimneys,
to read that one.
takes place in Turkey at an archaeological dig. And Annie's boyfriend, Ty, and his best friend, Cedric Zeeks, are trying to make a connection between the artifacts that they find in this very, very old, 9,000-year-old town in Turkey and our original human ancestors in Africa. But what happens is there are accidents occurring at the dig, and also artifacts are being stolen. So, of course, Annie, our little Nancy Drew meets CSI, tries to find out what's going on there. And there's some wonderful chase scenes in Istanbul. There's a balloon ride. They get trapped in caves. They find cave treasure. She works with a set of twins who are related to the head archaeologist, and they use a Ouija board to try to find some answers. There's a lot of fun in this book.
It sounds great. I can't wait to
So
read that one.
I chose children's books because I really felt that books for young adults live on. You write a bestseller, okay, and most bestsellers are not To Kill a Mockingbird, okay? So bestsellers, there's bestsellers and then they disappear.
Right.
If the author is prolific, then of course people will read the bestseller and then go to the other books. But I
Yes.
always feel that children's books live on and on and on.
Oh, they do.
And so I guess I got caught into that whole thing.
Yeah.
But I know that
When did you finish this book? This is fairly new. It just came out.
this just came out. They came out. I just got a shipment of books this week,
Right.
so I'm ready to
Yeah.
go. This took me 2 years to write. This one
Yeah.
really took me a long time,
Yeah.
but that was because I was marketing.
Right, which is very time consuming.
And Karen and I met.
right.
I mean, we met because of self-publishing.
Right.
We both decided we didn't want to wait 12 years to be
Yeah.
accepted by either a traditional
Yeah,
publisher
because it
or
takes
an
such
agent.
a long time for the traditional publishers to get back to you. You send out the query letter and maybe a chapter or two. You go by their guidelines, and then it could take them 9 months, 6 to 9 months to get back to you, and that's a long time. So
I think that's one of the things we've also learned from doing this program is that self-publishing is here to stay. Self-publishing has become better, even in the time that I've self-published, which is from 2010 till now. The industry has improved. I think my books are better now, the
Right.
ones that I produced. I just had the first two republished with illustrations.
Yeah,
and
they're
so
beautiful, too.
we do interview many self-published authors, and the industry's changing.
Yes.
And it's exciting because we also found out in our adventures that you can put an ebook.
yes, we
For
we both
free?
have done that for free through KDP,
Right.
Amazon.com.
Right.
It's free, and the royalties are.
Right.
You can choose your royalty. You can set your royalty percentage, which I think if you go lower, if you go to a lower book price, you get a higher royalty.
Yeah, it pretty much evens out, but
Yeah.
if you're a budding author, I strongly urge you to look at all of the services Amazon
Yes.
has to offer
Right.
authors. We also went into the world of digital audio.
Yes, digital audio.
Tell us
I just finished mine just recently, and it's through acx.com. You just go to the website and fill out an application, upload your book. You have to put in I think a couple of chapters, and then you have to try to find someone who could be the narrator. You choose among different people. You put it out there on the website, and then producers, those are people who are going to narrate your book, find you through the site, and what you can do is have a chance to listen to their narration. They'll choose you. They'll ask to narrate your book, and then they'll put a sample of how they narrate for you to listen to. And you could choose to take them or choose to move on. So I had a couple of people contact me. I chose to go with someone who I knew, and she was a storyteller. And so we have a deal where it's shared royalty.
Right.
She'll get half of whatever I get on the audiobook.
Right.
I know you put yours on also. How did you do your deal?
Yes, it was bid on, and the person who bids on, and you have them audition,
Right.
and they give you like a